And welcome back. In our last entry, we looked at the performance of our high school, our New Hamden Academy, and kind of looked at the expenditures for it and what the results were. As you could tell, the graphs went the wrong way. So we decided on this one, why don't we look at our youngest learners and look at McGraw School. It's K through 2. And as far as standardized testing, what have you, can't really do the same comparison because of the timing of those standardized tests. But we decided, well, we're building a budget anyway that we'll be sharing in a few months. So let's kind of take a look at how do we support our students. So what we started with is something that's called a non-payroll report. It was put together for our Hamden Town counselors back in May of 2016 as they were, the school district was putting out their budget for full year 17 to give people an idea of where expended. This was supposed to be help you understand how they budget and help you understand the expenditures. But let's take a look at what we found, and then you can kind of determine for yourself whether or not that purpose was fulfilled. So we're going to take a quick look here at what we found. And one of the things we found that was really interesting was the comparisons between what we're spending in McGraw and what we're spending in Newburgh. Okay, so the Newburgh school, in which very little students, if any, and in our actual own McGraw school. So if you take a look at these, and we've started off with the total non-payroll expenditures for each one of those schools. And if you take a quick look, you'll see that in full year 15, the actuals, when you look at these two bars, the red one being McGraw and the blue one being Newburgh, they're very darn close. I mean, who would have thought that we're supporting our Newburgh school pretty much with as much support financially as we are McGraw school? That's an interesting, so that really piqued our interest there. And when you look at full year 16, it's pretty darn close to the same. It looks a little bit more of a spread, but there is a line item in the Newburgh school that there may be another big payment that came out after May 10th, which would have made sense, which would have brought these a lot closer. And when you look at the actual numbers down here, you can see we spent just over $148,000 on our McGraw school, non-payroll support, and in Newburgh, a little over $140,000. So very interesting, we thought, as far as how that was spread. And then there's a 92 versus 127 at this point in time in full year 16. But as we said, there was another line item that may have decreased that gap. So that's overall quite surprising. So let's take a look at some other things. And here's one that we found really surprising. You may not think it has anything to do with our students, but we thought it was interesting. Telephone and postage. Okay, well, if you look at the budgeting process in full year 15, we budgeted the same amount for both schools. Okay, and then you do see that in McGraw, even though they both went over budget, okay, but in McGraw, they did spend a little bit more. So, okay, that'd make a little bit sense, I guess. I mean, parents calling in, what have you, and maybe you need a bigger phone system. And I'm not really sure what's going in the postage. Maybe we did some more communication, what have you. But where it really gets interesting is when you look at full year 16, more was spent in Newburgh in telephone and postage than there was for McGraw. Doesn't it make you kind of curious what in the world we're spending that money on for? I mean, how big is this telephone system and how much postage are we sending out to our parents and our community from a school that has very little to no students, right? And when you look down here, you'll see that the full year 16 budget, you'll see a gap. And because we didn't budget anything for full year 16 telephone and postage, but yet we spent almost, what's it look like, $600 more. For that. So when you think about our priorities as a school district, they seem to be in question if we're really student focused. Now this one's really interesting. Look at this. So this category just kind of got us. Dues and fees custodial. I'm not sure what dues and fees you need for custodial. If you look at historically, it looks like you don't need any. We just throw this in here. So a little bit over $1,000 a year we budget for these two schools together, and you can see that we budget more for Newburgh. Okay, so the dues and fees of the Newburgh custodial is almost twice as much than it is for McGraw. Now, we don't spend any money on this line item. This is just one of those fluffers, right? We're just going to throw it in there, and you can see it's consistent year after year. And then you look down below here, we haven't spent any money on dues and fees and custodial year-to-date 16 or all of 2015. But here it is right here, and you can see we do put more of an emphasis on that in Newburgh than we do in McGraw. So when we took it the next one, electricity. This one was an eye-opener. So when you think about how we budget and you wonder, so when you look at this, so look right here, you can see that we budget quite a bit more for electricity for McGraw than we do Newburgh. That would make absolute sense, right? You look at the size of the different schools and how much electricity is on and how much electricity is used, it makes perfect sense. What didn't make sense was when you look at the next one. We spend way more in Newburgh than we do in McGraw because we didn't spend anything in McGraw, right? A little further research will kind of explain that a little bit, but it's kind of interesting, okay? Obviously, the lights are on in McGraw. I don't know if the lead administrator and some of the best friends are, riding bicycles in the old kitchen to keep the lights on. I'm not really sure, but I'll let you kind of figure that out. But once again, here we go. Here is the budgeting process for our district. And if you look down below, it's historical. $54,928.01 was budgeted for 15. But if you look at 16 right across the way, you'll see that they removed the 1 cent because they're getting really accurate. They knew they didn't spend as much as they budgeted in 15, so we want to make a little bit of an adjustment in 16. But look at it, $54,000 budget when they know they're not spending any money on electricity. None. So when you look at the budgeting, why McGraw didn't quite hit their budget, there's about $50,000 in there that nobody ever intended to spend anyhow, right? So when you look at another slide that we're going to come up with, that's going to be pretty key. But what's that make you think, right? When you think about the accuracy of this budget, almost like you could take a monkey and put a blindfold on it and have it throw darts at a wall that has a bunch of numbers on it and just go line item number 3, throw a dart, put the number in, right? Maybe, I don't know, but the accuracy of these line items is something to behold. Well, Jason, you must be making this up. This can't be real. Well, no, you couldn't make this up. This is the actual one page from the document. It's page 20 out of 27. As you can see on the bottom left, if you have really good eyes, it's May 10th at 3:12 and 56 seconds in the PM. It's report 51472, RSU number 22, budget report, no PR, payroll by object. And then if you look here, it is an actual line item that was sitting right there looking us all in the face, right? They just threw it in there, $54,928.01 and 0. And then you look at full year 16, 0. This is our leadership team. This is what we're relying on for the education of our students. Now, how much support do our administrators in that white building that are doing this get versus our students? Well, let's take a look at that. Look at these. So if you look at the blue bars, those are our students and how much support they're getting non-payroll. And if you look at the red bars, this is how much support is being provided per admin in the white building at this time. Okay, so for this year, for full year 15 and 16, here you go. So if you look at it, when you look at the full year 15 budget, you take the number of students that we had in our school, roughly $590 was being spent on our students, each student. And then you have in our administrative, we're spending almost $15,000 per administrator with non-payroll support, right? To keep the building open for the professional development, for dues and fees, multiple copier leases. I'm not sure if there's something written in the laws of Maine State Public Education that once you hit a certain level of administration, you can't walk more than 6 feet to a copier. But we do have quite a few. We have a number of copier leases in that very small building. Which is also very interesting. I don't want anybody to hurt themselves walking too far, but I'm not sure why you need maybe there is some rule in there, and if I don't know about it, and I do apologize, if there is a law that you do need to have one every 8 feet. So when you look at it, you look across the board, it's like, well, what's this mean, Jason? Like, what are you trying to tell us? Well, let's look at this. If you look at the 2015 budget, for every $100 we spent to support the administrators in the white building, we budgeted $4.02 per student at McGraw. 100 for the administrators, we were shown have completely failed in all sorts of different areas, and $4 per student, okay, which is our focus. Well, because of that electricity, which is we'll leave it at that. The actual is for every $100 we spent on our administrative support for just those people in the white building, $3.09 per student. Our students are so important that our leaders are budgeting $3 per student outside of our payroll and payroll benefits and what have you to help those students, help the teachers with those students, help the ed techs with those, and support the principals who are running the schools there, $3 per student. Let's look at 2016. It's very consistent. We upped the budget a little bit, right? So for every $100 we budgeted for admin support, we actually budgeted $4.22 a student. We must have really thought we should really refocus our attention. Well, in 2016, the actual is $100 per admin, and of support is $3.09 again. $3 for every student. For every $100 we spend on our administration. Is it a wonder that we have kids that are struggling? Is it a wonder? Well, we'll stop there. And next time we'll be coming out with looking at it in a different school, and we'll look at performance, and we'll kind of look at some of how we're supporting those schools as well. But until next time, thank you very much for joining, and hopefully this has been somewhat informative.